What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest rendition of the Druzhinacast. Welcome back. Feels like it's been forever. It's been a normal amount of time, though. As usual, I'm Mike.
I'm Tom. What's up?
And I'm Rob.
And we have what? We have plans for tonight. It's another episode where we don't really have like anything super big or complicated to discuss. Although I'm sure complicated discussions will arise, as they normally do. We do have a couple things we do want to talk about at some point. I'm not sure where to start. I guess we could start that. We are getting together on the physical plane. We're getting together IRL in like 2 weeks to I don't know what's our main goal as far as Vassal stuff goes with that weekend. Are we going to go scout kind of spots for events together, or
Maybe we could do. I was gonna say the only official plan we have is to go to Two Toms and get some brews, but we can certainly work something else out. I know we had talked.
Two Toms is the official Vassal sponsor.
The official Vassal brewery hangout. I know we had talked about bringing some weapons and stuff, maybe doing like some light sparring. Because I mean, obviously, me and Nick have done a lot. But I don't know if you guys have really had opportunities to like actually do some Vassal fighting.
Not since 2019.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because me and Nick spent pretty much throughout like quarantine. He was like my one bud that I actually hung out with.
Yeah.
So we would like kid up and like do all of this fighting and like test out these rules and stuff. Which I guess, group fights are still a question mark, but one-on-one, I think we have a really decent understanding of like how it works now, which we both really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's up to you guys how much kit you want to bring, but I mean, I feel like we should do at least a little bit just so you guys can kind of finally have the chance to, engage with some of that.
I'll probably bring a little bit of kit just to, because there's stuff that I want to. I mean, I won't fight in it the whole time, but I kind of want to like see how I feel in it. Like I got that newer, like Zupan Gambeson from that one lady in Poland that I want to like wear and see how it feels and everything. But because it's one thing to like fight in a t-shirt, and then when you get into an event and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like it's way different. So
I'll probably be very minimal.
Yeah, plus it's got some padding and stuff, so I kind of want to see how that feels. But, yeah, it'll be cool to bounce off some blades and kind of see where we're all at with the calibration of LARP weapons.
Mm-hmm. And that's something, too, like me and Nick have really been trying to, like, work on and scale back. Because me and him in Dagger here, we fought pretty hard. And then just because, like, we're sparring buddies, I mean, we just, like,
the
blast each other unnecessarily,
take liberties with each other.
Because like, so it's been tough even again, fighting each other to be like, okay, no, hold on, like we gotta pull it back, like we can't be doing this.
I just don't fight Nick. That's how
I do get my ass kicked a lot. That is typically how it goes. Which I mean, we don't need to like kit to the max, but I can say from my experience with fighting Nick in full kit that our rule set, I enjoy it when people wear lots of armor because one, cool. Either the fight is longer and it feels more like intense because you can go at it more. But the nice thing is too, though, is armor is so effective that you really do catch yourself trying to like aim for weak spots. And I just feel like that makes the fight like way more tactical. It's not so much like the old days where it's just like, okay, how can I juke them and get a wrap shot in? And that's it, game over.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, he's got armor here, and here, but between these two spots, I can hit him in the Gambeson and then, so it's a lot more interesting than just, whacking each other like we did before. So I would definitely recommend maybe bringing a little bit of armor, maybe a helmet at least.
I cannot find my arming cap thing anywhere. I gotta try to find that because my helmet won't fit right. Because I was thinking about that too, like bring the helmet so we can actually like test some like pitch battle head boops and kind of being like, what can I feel, what can't I feel, and stuff like that. If just to make the most of the weekend instead of like, I didn't bring it, we'll do it next time, and then it's like a month from now or whatever. But
Yeah, we could drive around to locations. Did get my car fixed up, so I can actually. Mike doesn't have to drive us this time around
Sweet.
town. I can do it.
I didn't mind.
But that location that me and Nick went to, Corby, if you're in chat, we're talking about your event site that you did. I don't know if we can just pop in, but I mean that's not too far from where I live. If we wanted to,
Yeah, I
check
mean,
it
or
out.
even yeah, I mean, even if there's other places around that you were thinking about, I don't know what else you've thought about in that area that might be worth looking at. But I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? If we just do like the sparring thing, I'll be content. That's
it
good
wouldn't
progress,
even be a
but-
terrible idea to try to contact them this week, like during business hours or however that
Yeah.
works. And be like, hey, can we like pop by on the weekend and like
Yeah, like we're thinking of hosting an event and maybe using your site. We want to come check it out and see if it's the right one for us.
instead of us just showing up, like it's cool, right? And they're like,
Shut up,
never come back.
fuckers.
These people you don't know. It's okay that we just
Look at all
came
this
in,
land. Cool.
I want to see your shit.
Yeah,
What's up, Eldritch Victory? I don't know if I've seen Eldritch Victory in chat
that's
before.
a cool name.
Victory.
Eldritch, you are Victor from Instagram, right? If you're still there and listening, hopefully your volume's on.
Just was like, hello there, and left.
He's like, oh, screw this.
I'm just gonna say hi and then bounce on
These guys are dumb. I'm out of here.
Got him.
I wouldn't blame him, but
I have a feeling that I'm gonna like put on my gambeson, put on my helmet, and then we're gonna bop each other in the head a couple times and be like, oh yeah, I've been doing this.
Yeah, it's.
Like,
I'm not gonna be
like,
like,
yeah.
Like I can't imagine that, because I really don't feel like I hold back anymore at Corby says you can give us the contact info. That's tight.
hell yeah. Thanks,
Sweet.
bud.
I really don't feel
Yeah,
like
we will message you.
I really don't feel like my calibration has changed at all from how I fight and how hard I hit in buffer games to going to Beakling. And I've always imagined just kind of carrying the way I've been fighting at Beakling into Vassal with maybe a little more like less technical, because it's at some points I would just fight like it was like mostly just because it was like a big field fight with a bunch of people, and I just can't imagine like I didn't have like a group to fight with, so it's not like I was gonna fight in like big team tactics. I was always just by myself, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go off to the side and find people to like spar with, essentially.
yeah, like hold the weak side of the line where it's just kind of like
that's all I
thin
ever.
lines.
So I mean, actually, just doing like, and I mean, I don't like any of the shields I have right now for like my Vassal kit, so I'm probably not gonna bring a shield. So I'm probably just gonna fight with a sword.
Yeah, I'm just
and
doing
that's-
saber for sure.
Yeah, and I
gotta get used
just
to it.
I'm seeing myself as somebody who gets into more duels than like ends up in a lot of like big fights. So I really just want to hone that skill as much as I can.
Yeah.
Hail from Arkansas.
Yeah,
It's a long ways away.
That's a long
you don't
way.
see- yeah, you don't hear that very often.
I'm gonna feel so bad if our game sucks and this guy comes all the way from Arkansas to find out.
Why are you wasting my time like that?
Yeah, but it should be cool. I mean, I feel like I'm trying my best to give people the proper idea of what Vassal is going to be.
Yeah,
Same. Yeah, definitely.
So that it's like impossible to be disappointed. Like I want people to understand so that it's exactly what you expect.
mm-hmm.
And that works.
Yeah,
That kills two birds with one stone. Because I also want there to be people who do not want what Vassal is going to be, and I want them to understand that and not come.
well, yeah. It's I feel like conveying that information for everyone's sake. Yeah, I don't want anyone to be hyped in a very generic way and then show up and be like, this isn't what I thought it was. Because it's like, I just want to be clear just so like everyone can end up where they want to be. And no one feels cheated or even like people that know what Vassal is showing up. And then there's a bunch of people here with the wrong idea. And then it's kind of like this mixed crowd of like, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Hey, I mean, thanks for showing thanks for showing interest.
Yeah, showing any
Thanks for
interest. It's
being
cool.
here. Yeah.
We're just stoked that people kind of see even a fraction of what we're conveying and being like, cool. So
there's people that have been here from the start that you seem more excited than. So I appreciate that. I know you wanted to discuss character stuff. Is that what you went over with them, Rob? That they wanted to get up and chat and kind of talk about who their character might be. So Eldritch Victory, if you ever get the chance to type up a little spiel about ideas you might have. I don't know how much time you've had to kind of go over like what few resources we have available. Because I don't think you're in our Discord, but and I don't know anywhere else to really get access to those. I mean, even without knowing lore or geographical cultural stuff, is there an idea you have for a character who you'd like to be in Vassal, since you've taken an interest to it? I guess too, it's this kind of goes along with the idea of getting people acquainted and getting people to develop their characters and put in applications. We are going to have a small get together in, I guess we're shooting for November. We got to find out about spaces and availability to really nail it down. It's not like an official event or anything. It's more so kind of like even a proto playtest kind of deal. It's mostly really going to be to get people in the same place and get them in kit and take some pictures and do some promotional stuff so that we can probably throw a website together, or just make some kind of content to get people hyped. I don't think we're going to have anything too much planned as far as like actual game stuff happening, but I mean, I would be fine with people wanting to do little fights and get acquainted to what our rules are going to be. Maybe even do a little improv, like this is what role play is going to look like, and just whatever. It's really just going to be to start getting familiar with the group of people we have, which, I mean, we know most of them, but some of them we don't, or some of them we just don't know very well. It's kind of going to be like a thing to kind of like get together and get to know each other a little more and get an idea of what we're going to be doing together. So I do a LARP that's so different from everything I've ever done. I've always been doing medieval fantasy. It'll be to do more historical and fantasy. Yeah. It's something that isn't provided here, and that's why I think it's interesting, and it's why I want to do it, because nobody else is doing it, and it's like it's always been our thing. Even when we played Vaffer games, where your character didn't matter whether they were fantastical or historically inspired, we still put a lot of effort into being historically inspired characters.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the idea for this get together too is it's kind of like we could even treat it. It's kind of like a mini like Vassal culture. Yeah, like come on out, wear your garb. I mean, we're not going to be doing any camping, and we'd have to nail down what time frame we have to be there. But yeah, that'd be cool if people wanted to like come out. We could all hang out and talk, do a little sparring, just get acquainted, really. But yeah, it's like we can finally kind of convey in person, like this is what we want the combat to look like, or this is what we want I don't know. So that'll be, because we haven't been able to touch base with anybody in person, really, because it's just this whole thing. And
yeah, like we just get together with each other. I mean, I think each of us has kind of seen Josh a little bit, who's doing Milosh in the game, to do different things. And I actually think Josh is the most familiar, and kind of vice versa. I think me and him have the most personal, close idea of each other's aspirations and what we want Vassal to look like for us, because we've spent all that time together doing like the overboard video. And the whole time I just kept saying, this is what I want Vassal to be. I just wanted to be like us, kind of being somewhere and doing what we do. We didn't really think too much about like what we were going to say or what we were going to do. We kind of just did it. And I'm like, I just want Vassal to be this without the cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited to almost kind of just exist somewhere with Josh, and as people kind of get the idea of what I want to do, I just want to kind of like lead by example, almost, with like how we treat being at the game. You know, it's not like there's going to be generic like shit for everybody get together, let's do this thing, you know, or like I don't know. Like I want it to be real. I want it to be natural. I want people to be doing their own thing. I want people to be very busy with themselves, and
Yeah.
I want that to help interaction be more natural and more special because it might be more rare. Even you know, I would not be upset if I spent an entire event essentially just camping with Josh because Ingvar and Milos are trying not to be noticed. You know, like maybe we're like camping out most of the day and like foraging in the woods and trying to like figure stuff out, and then we don't really come out until it's like night, so that we might be a little less noticeable. You know.
Yeah.
Um.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool situation. Even if people spotted you, didn't know who you were, but knew you were like Obervoskins, and to be like, I don't really know much about them, but
Yeah.
like, do I approach them or not? Or like, here they come, they're coming to say something, like just to
Yeah.
get in that cool, like, oh, like what do we do?
I really want to be like weirdo strangers in a strange land, like camping in the woods away from like most people and things, um, while still being available for people that need me to do like admin stuff. Um, but yeah, should be tight.
I'll
Also,
just have a Discord. Hey, so we can talk about your character. If you want, type something into chat, and that's what we'll go over. Or if you want me to, I have your bio in the inbox. I can just read that off if you'd rather me do that. But let me know because I don't want to read that without your consent if you're uncomfortable or if you change something.
well, and speaking about
Um,
stories and everything too, and Eldritch is a big example. Which I mean, we haven't spoken or anything, but the impression that I get is like there are types of people out there that, uh, like I don't know if you're into Mountain Blade. I don't know if you know it, but there's different types of people that are like, this is what I'm interested in as far as time period or aesthetic, and like you really can adapt it into a lot of situations. So instead of us having to like explain to people, like I think there's people that see kind of what we're doing and being like, whoa, like that's kind of what I like. And it's like a really easy transition to even like change a little details here and there for your story, but you can adapt it into the universe because it's very similar to what you're already kind of into. So those people pop up here and there that it's a really cool, like sweet like moment.
Yeah, I get
yeah, it
really
is.
excited when I see people that have their gears turning.
Yeah,
And I never laid my hand on a crank. You know,
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that gets really exciting for me because I'm like, you get it. You know,
Yeah.
like when Rob just was like, yeah, I'm gonna make these videos, Rob IE, and stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, like I have the story for this guy Sigismund. I'm just like, you get it.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, too, I mean, I do like a good crank in here and there, but I mean,
So I'll give him a crank.
but I mean, like, if sometimes I feel like I'm like, man, you know, I'd love to help people out. Like sometimes I almost feel like I'm like, man, does nobody need help? Like I like doing that too, but
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like us being like, hey, if anybody like is
yeah,
ready to,
nobody
like,
says anything, and I'm like,
have a jam session about their character or
I
ideas they
got
might
time.
have. Yeah, it's like it's time. Like we're gonna sit on our computers and wait. Um, but luckily, we do have something planned for. I don't know how many of them are going to be available for it, but the
Mm-hmm.
Constantia dudes wanna have a sesh and talk.
That'd be
They
cool.
did. I think we're going to shoot for next Sunday because it's an off weekend for this, and that's when they seem available. The reason we picked Sunday at the time was because Tom and my D&D group usually play on Saturdays, but next weekend we're actually going to be doing Sunday.
Oh,
So I got to figure out what time they want to do because we could potentially do both in a day if
yeah,
we want. Because I mean, it's only ever like an hour and a half of sitting with them and talking about stuff. Um, but I'm gonna try to go back and forth with them a bit and figure out what exactly they want to do and when they want to do it. Because we might be able to switch it to Saturday or something if we can't do both on Sunday. But what we got? What we got? Corby lost his job. I'm sorry, bud.
yeah. Sorry, Corby, I saw that.
Yeah, that
I got
sucks, dude.
I got
If
fired during this shit too, so I know how that goes.
I was gonna say if catching a ride is an issue for you, Nick, I'm pretty sure lives really close to you. So if that is an issue, I would hit up Nick. I'm sure he'd be
Plus,
willing to have you tag along with
we
him.
haven't really discussed it, but I don't know the full details of what the let's say we find a place and we have to like rent it for a day. I don't really know the full details of the cost of that, but it's not going to be
Yeah, I don't see
anything.
us unless it's, I mean, here's my thing. If they like want a bunch of money so that like 10 of us can come hang out for a couple hours, I'm gonna be like, that's not worth it.
So going by at least what was on their website, or I think it was on the website, or Corby told me, I don't remember which. The site we're trying to get is really cheap.
Okay.
Like I'm talking like we could charge like $5, and if like 15 to 20 people show up, we're gonna break even.
Okay.
Which is kind of where I was saying we'll probably charge super low again, like 5-10 absolute maximum. Could be 5, and that'll probably cover it. And if it doesn't, we can probably honestly just eat the rest of the cost, and it'll probably be like $5 from each of us.
Yeah, so, I mean, dude, that's the thing too, is that
I'm not too worried. That's kind of why we wanted to do this site for this, because it's like it's so cheap.
Yeah, and it's not like we're gonna like rent the site, charge people, and then pay ourselves back. Like that money's probably just gonna be the start of like a Vassal fund.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you spent $350 to rent the weekend.
Because I was gonna say, because I had looked, and I think it's just if you do a day, which is the no camping, I'm pretty sure that's how they do it. So like that's where I was saying, people, if we do this, they can't pitch a tent and stay. Like they would have to leave. I think it's like 100 or 115 or something. So yeah, I feel like that ain't bad for sure.
You said 115?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like 120. I mean, it was like pretty shockingly low. Yeah, a day is like 100.
I mean, I'm willing to eat some of the cost too. I mean, this is our first little thingy.
But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I mean, even if it was a situation where it's like I literally can't spare the $5, you'd be like, that's fine. Like I don't care.
Yeah, just come anyways.
Yeah, like the more the merrier, really. Especially if, and I guess we should probably disclaim that we're only doing this for people that have approved submitted applications.
Yes.
So people who are well aware who their character is in Vassal and has made us aware and has gotten approval from the process that we're doing. 75 for 4 hours. See, it's like, that's ridiculous. That's plenty of time to like just get together and do shit. I mean, if we wanted to do more than that, just in case we want to like hang out there for a long ass time, we could do that. But
well, I mean, and it's like $25 more for the whole day.
Yeah,
it's like that's a steal. I don't care about that. Like, I don't know. I'm just anxious for everybody to be able to to be accessible and everyone to be able to go out there and not worry about the costs, because I'm sure there's going to be like gas money and all that stuff for people that want to like travel. But
yeah, and like people that travel too, it's like we're not camping, so it's like you're probably gonna do an Airbnb or a hotel or drive back that same day, and any of those suck, you know, or just they cost money. So it's like I don't want to make it. I don't want to make this sound like it's like a must attend.
No,
you know, because we have people in New York that are interested in Vassal. We got somebody in Arkansas that's interested in Vassal. Like, I'm not gonna make this sound like it's something you guys really need to be at, because that's a far way to go for a day of essentially like, here's what this might be like. Here's like, because we have yet to get a group of people together to try to do anything.
Yeah.
So we're not offering anything with this. We need to do this so that we can start figuring out, you know, like exactly what this is going to be and what this is going to look like and how it's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, essentially it's kind of like if we're old buds or new buds, or, you know, the hype has been real for you for a while, and like maybe you haven't gone out to any other game events, because I don't know if there's really been many, and you're just kind of hankering to kind of dress up and come out. And it's a really just like a Vassal culture pregame little thing, just to come out. Yeah, just to come out. You can kind of get a rundown of the combat, and we're probably going to be playtesting a lot of it too. Meet people, you know, sit on some logs together, dressed up, you know, get some pictures if you want your picture taken. It's really just kind of like, hey, do you want to feel, you know, medieval for part of a day, like come on out, meet us. We'll hang out. That's all. I mean, that's all
woods?
it is.
But
Yeah,
exactly,
you want to get the feels. Do you want to like walk around in your period footwear? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's all it is. So.
But yeah, if that sounds like something you want to be a part of and you don't have an application in, make it happen. Start talking to us about your shit and we'll make it happen.
We're talking, and I mean, if we want to officially announce it now, but I mean, we've been kind of talking that you have to have your app in by the end of October.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a fair, and that's
I'm
good with that. I would like to know who's going to be at this. If it's going to be in like mid-November, I would like to know who's going to be at this by the end of October.
Right,
and I would say app and possibly even RSVP.
like full app too, because we've been kind of like tossing around the idea of like, well, if you have your story, just like submit it and we'll get things rolling. But like, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to have a kit of some kind ready for it.
That's the thing too. Yeah, it's like it's not just let's talk about who you're gonna be and figure it out. Like you have to have at least like a basic soft kit, and I know that's probably harder for people that want to make their stuff and can't just or because that takes time, or they can't afford to buy the shit they want right now for their kit because that costs money. So that's the thing too, is that if you can't see yourself being kitted up and having a approved application by the end of October, don't sweat it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
This is not like the must go to thing to be a part of Vassal.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal.
This is like we're gonna hang out, take some pictures, swing some swords, maybe try to put together like a role play scenario. But yeah, this is something where if you come, we're not providing you with like an experience, like,
a meal.
This isn't an event. Or it's not even like we don't even have anything on like the schedule necessarily. You know what I mean? Like there's no scenarios planned. There's not gonna be a big this or a big that.
Yeah, it's just
this is literally like most of it will probably be out of character. Because it's going to be like, hey guys, what do you think about this? Should we do, this way? And like, it's figuring things out. It's not like playing the game.
Yeah.
So, know what it is, and then if that's something you want to do, then get your app in.
Corby says 150 for overnight.
Yeah, thank you for grabbing those numbers for us.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But yeah, see, that's pretty cheap.
It is,
especially because it's a really nice looking site. That's the other thing too.
Well, I mean, maybe we can even. I mean, I know we'd have to book it, and this is me talking out loud. So if you two are like, shut up, I will. But like, maybe even with the apps, even with the apps and the RSVP, if we know that enough people are coming, like we could treat it like if we hit this amount of people coming, maybe we could open up the idea of an overnight. You know what I mean? Because what if we have a bunch of people with apps that want to show up, and that's more like whatever we depend on charging, say it's like $5 or $10, and it would cover $150 for a lot of people that want to travel and like set up a tent.
It's gonna be the middle of November.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I think right now with how warm it's been, we're gonna luck out fine for the day. I don't think that's gonna be like suddenly there's a foot of snow.
There's been nights camping in April where I couldn't sleep because it was so cold.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Corby does bring up the point. There is indoor sleeping. There's like 2 rooms.
Oh yeah, there's that
12
building.
Cots in them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess if we want to do that, we could.
32 bunk beds.
Jesus.
Anybody want to hear me snore and fart all night?
Nope.
Let's do it.
See, even if we
I gotta do all that in 2 weeks. I don't.
Even if we do overnight, I will not be staying. Just so I can get away from that.
I'm going wherever you go, bud.
Wilhelm says thanks for approval. Welcome, bud. Thanks for having an approving application.
Absolutely
makes it easy. Eldritch says, hold on, I gotta like scroll up.
Yeah, we missed a little bit. We got all
wanted to be born around an independent city state between Ascara and Saragon, like a Mamluk Egypt. I'll address that before we get to the second part. So that would be sweet because we don't have a lot of people down in that area. I think we have 1 person doing Saragon and 1 doing Ascara. So that's a very like underpopulated zone at the moment. Particularly for Ascara, how like story relevant it is. So that would be cool. Egyptian influence is definitely part of Ascara because they control such a large area that like on our map, basically anything that's considered like Middle East is already part of that. Independent city state, we would need to talk to you about. I'm a little wary of that off the bat, just because when you start getting into like independent, I'm trying to think what the right word would be, but let's just call it political entity, because if you're a city state, you are. Um, that's where like it can start to mess with the other things going on a little bit, because now it's like now there's a whole nother place that like wasn't considered before, that now it has to be like, well, why is this place independent? Like what's the deal? So we would really need to hash that out, and like Mike said, jam sesh over that and try to figure out what's the best conclusion there for that.
Anyone getting any audio blip sounds?
Or is it like in Zoom right now? No.
Okay. I'm fine with Zoom, but
what about,
I don't.
What about what about on the stream? It might just be my computer, but when you talk, Rob, I'm getting like a behind your voice. If it's cool, it's cool. I just want to be sure.
So I'm not running my fan, so it's not my fan.
No, it's definitely some kind of computer thing. But if it sounds
listening to the stream right now, I just unmuted it. It sounds fine.
Okay, good.
Okay, sweet. But yeah, no, love the geographic pick. I think there's a lot of potential there. Second part is I was thinking of bringing in some science fiction, since it's a different world. So I have a different way for reasonable vampires, dwarves, giants, not too excessive, but rare. I will have to say that's not going to be a thing. Yeah. I don't know how much you've caught. Again, you're not on the Discord, so I know a lot of these resources aren't available to you. But this setting, it's fictitious in the way that we don't want to have to actually adhere to like recreating real historical events, but there's nothing fantastical about the universe. There's no elves, no dwarves, no orcs, magic, dragons, like none of that exists in our game. The only way it exists is people talking about it in the way that like real people would, like in that vein of like superstition, but none of it's real. I mean, that's the truth behind it, essentially, because this game really isn't about representing any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like look to things like more than anything, Mountain Blade. Mountain Blade is very much historically inspired, but not representative of history. There is no fantastical element to Mountain Blade. It's all just geopolitical, like simulation.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what Vassal is, except on a much more personal level. It's going to be more about the characters and their personal stories, and it's going to be about, like these nations clashing and stuff. And yeah, Kingdom Come set in actual history, and like it's happening within actual historical events. But I mean, the character of Henry is a fictional character. That it's like that. But there's no magic in that game. There's no,
Yeah. I feel like there's always sometimes some pitfalls of like, this looks historical, so let's go full bore historical with it. And if it's gonna have any historical realism, then why not go all the way and just make it? And it's like, no. What if this time we just say, here's what could have happened. Here's a same exact aesthetic, but in a world that has never existed.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the harm in that? So.
Yeah, it's like sometimes I even think about, because I'm like a DM at heart, and I just won't give myself the time to sit there and create a world fully and write games. But I've always wanted to run a game that's just like humans and there's no magic. And it probably sounds dreadfully boring to some people, but
yeah,
it's like that's more interesting to me than a lot of like there's orcs and the elves hate them.
Well, that was always the joke of this too, is it's really supposed to be about human conflict, and that's what I think makes it for most people feel more personal. Because I think for a lot of people, and I can say this for myself, even fantastical elements are distracting. You fall into tropes, you fall into things that aren't realistic, things that like don't make sense when you put it under a lens, and it kind of breaks it for a lot of people. That's one of the reasons I really do struggle with like high fantasy LARPs, because it's like, because even like, dude, you're not an elf. You're a human.
And I mean, I'll always say that. Even the best looking orc kit is still just a dude in a mask.
Yeah.
And I can look at somebody you know, even like Empire dudes at a Zweihander game, you know, that just are literally just like LARPing as Warhammer humans. That looks all believable to me. Those look like real dudes. They look like something out of a fucking movie or out of a time capsule. But there's never a time that I see somebody either in makeup or in a costume trying to represent an elf, a dwarf, an orc, or anything, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like you're in a costume.
Yeah,
and that's cool. If people need to get that out and they need to go somewhere where I can be this fantasy thing, I'm glad those games exist for you. I've never had that in me, and the people that have gotten together to develop Vassal are all people that don't have that in us. So the game we're making isn't for the people that have that in them. We're trying to tell pretty grounded, real grit, you know, natural, realistic stories.
I feel like too,
realistic people.
If they did exist, it's like you would just be another civilized humanoid, and it wouldn't even have any impact to be like, I have green skin and I'm an orc. So it's like, why? Right. What does it even? I mean, I understand that people like that aesthetic a lot, but it's like what Mike said and what Rob said. It's kind of, to me, it's kind of like a distraction in this type of story, and I think people think it allows them certain liberties to be like, I'm special, or and it's like you still have to adhere to all the realistic politics and just like everybody else. So it's like, why even? It's just be you.
Like, what does it accomplish?
Well, dude,
other than just you want to dress up as one. Like,
at the risk, because you guys keep digging. At the risk of
I'm not trying to dig.
No, but you're doing it. At the risk of upsetting a number of people, which I don't want to do, but I just know that people get sensitive about it. I look at. I don't think it's a need. I think at its heart, it's a want. I want to go be an orc. I want to go be an elf. I want to go. But there's times where even when I watch like YouTube videos of like, oh, like here's like a little scene the orcs did, or like here's like a video of the orcs marching, and like it's always like very one-dimensional. We're the bad guys. Kill the humans.
It's like, literally like.
Yeah, and it's like part of me is like,
what else is there?
Like, do you just not know what else to do? So like, I just need to be this thing because I know exactly what this is supposed to be, you know. And that's, I mean, I'm really, I know there's probably no way to make it not a knock, but I really don't want to knock people. But that's what happens in my head when I see people are like, I put all this effort into making this very complicated, very, you know, there's a lot going on. It's always like very busy. Sometimes it looks really shitty, but there's a lot of really busy, complicated orc kits that I can tell people put a lot of fucking work to, and they look good. They look almost as good as like Lord of the Rings orcs, you know, not quite, but almost as good. And sometimes it looks like a crutch to me, where it's like, I don't want to think harder than I'm a bad guy. And it's much easier when I'm dressed like this, you know. I'm hearing myself all of a sudden. Is somebody?
I think Tom is up to some shenanigans right now.
What are you doing?
That's just
are you checking on the stream. Okay.
I'm just double because my audio sounds like crap, but as long as the stream sounds good,
I mean,
here sabotaging.
It looks fine on Twitch, so it's fine.
Like it's making all these sounds.
That's my little rant on why I'm never super interested in dressing up like a monster or a creature.
Well,
or a
taking it beyond like, why do you do this, or it sounding like we're criticizing people's interests, because that's not what we're ultimately, I don't think we're trying to do. It's more of kind of a deeper,
I don't try to do it, but I know I'm doing it.
No, yeah, but it's kind of it really what it is. It's just a deeper, clearer understanding of why we're not including him in the game, because we want there to be social interaction and intrigue and all those things, and bringing in all these fantastical elements. It's kind of like it would take away, and it would pull the attention away from what we want the core gameplay to be anyways. Yeah. So having someone being like, bleh, and it's like, well, what do we do other than kill you? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it's like, how long would people put up with you exist? I mean, we said this like when we first even started talking, before you had the name Vassal, and we thought we were still gonna be kingdoms and we were gonna include fantasy races. We got to a moment where we were thinking about how complicated and how intriguing. We wanted the role play and the story and the geopolitical stuff happening to like look like. And we were like, how much of the orc shit would they put up with before they just wiped them out?
Yeah, before we just kill them all, and then it's
mean,
like, all right, orcs are out of the game.
Humans have done shitty ass stuff to other humans throughout actual history. If there was this like bestial race that was a scourge, people would be like, we're gonna band together. That's it. Like, they can't be here.
I can't imagine you being tolerated.
Yeah.
You're just like, and it's not like I can't imagine it if you were a culture that communicated and collaborated and existed alongside humans. But if your concept for the orcs in a world is like, we're just evil as fuck and we just want to kill and tear people apart and burn your cities, it's like, we wouldn't let you exist.
Well, and it's the big difference between Lord of the Rings orcs, which are literally like a magical creation for warfare.
Yeah.
Or like or like the goblins or whatever. It's like you're just kind of a whatever. Versus like, say, even like Elder Scrolls orcs, where like they're civilized, they work at, they're part of society. Like they work at towns and shit. Like they have really cool armor. Like they're actual culture. And I mean, we're getting really into this. I feel like we've discussed it a lot, but
it has been like probably a year since we actually touched on like, here's how we feel about orcs.
Yeah, and it's
we've moved past it such a long time ago,
and that's why. Yeah. And it honestly just came up because somebody was like, hey, what about this fantasy stuff? And we're like,
I was gonna say, in Eldritch, none of this is to like put you on blast.
We're just trying to catch you up on like, because it's just
and this is what we do. Something comes up in chat that turns out to be a really good thing to talk about for 15 minutes, and we do it. So
there you go.
But we appreciate the interest in the ideas, and it's definitely something to work with. And you didn't mention it, but I do remember from us talking, you had talked about wanting to be like an archaeologist character, which I think is friggin' sweet.
Yeah.
And I think these guys do too. So that is something that I'm definitely interested to hear more about, how that's relevant to the character, or like how you plan to like represent that in like the game. And maybe part of that is like your character believes that giants are real and he's going to go dig one up and find its bones or something. You know what I mean?
I mean, just
obviously we would, what we were trying to say is we have to accept that like giants aren't actually part of the game. So like, who knows what you find, but your character can believe whatever they want.
You haven't offended anybody.
Absolutely not.
We're very glad you're here, Mason. I do want you to know that busy boos are happening if you're still watching.
That is an official thing now.
Yeah, it is happening, and some guys beat you to the punch on developing the area that they're from, but it's not too late to join and start developing with them. I know you're kind of all over the place. You travel a lot, and I don't really know where you live right now. But they're like, I think they're mostly Midwest, East Coast guys that are really interested in doing like Byzantine, very Varangian kit to develop like fantasy culture based on that. So if you want to get in on that, because you already have a perfect kit for it, I'd love to have you. But that is happening. We're supposed to be meeting with them next weekend to start kind of developing that stuff. And I would be fine, because I know that they came forward with like, hey, we want to develop it. I would not have any sort of, I know you haven't met Mason before, Rob, but he literally has like a perfect Byzantine kit.
And I was gonna say, I think I do. I have seen pictures.
He's very educated. He's very smart, and he would be, I think, vital in being a part of that if he wanted to. He'd be awesome. But yeah, we're doing a lot. We got a lot going on. What else is going on?
Corby says, kids are struggling on character right now, especially with a job. My concept is a baker that was born in Nordenmark. His father was from Lyonnais, and his grandfather was a knight to the House de Lyonnais. Parents got sick in his infancy, and he was raised by his grandfather on the tales of Lyonnais' splendor and excellence. Which, totally checks out, because the one thing, so much of this game, and it's really because of who people are playing so far, is this really like anti-empire, anti-imperial, which I think a lot of us in real life feel that way, but that's because of like who our cultures are in the game. Nordenmark is supposed to be the one place that really like hugely benefited from it. So it would make sense that a lot of characters from Nordenmark have very like positive feelings towards the Empire and like what it did for their country and probably what it did for them personally and their families. Um, so I think that story is like perfect.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think that's awesome.
Well, they have a really special perspective too, because they kind of, to my understanding, because of geography and just the struggles in the South and all that stuff, it's like they were kind of isolated, Nordenmark people. So they really kind of like, not necessarily out of touch, but it's like they would have formed their own ideas and their own cultures away from everybody else's influence. And then, you know, so like it would have really, you would have really like crafted your own lore based on what your parents told you, what people around you thought, like the prosperity of the times. Like it's yeah, I'm excited for I'm excited for every area to be developed, but we haven't really had Nordenmark.
And I think that's cool too, though, because I think Nordenmark, given people's other interests, I think with time that faction will probably blow up. Because anybody who wants to do like Landsnecht, if they got like Warhammer Empire kits and they're trying to cross over into here, like that's the one place you fit.
Yeah.
I think with time, the numbers of that place will bolster up. And I think there's a lot of huge story potential to be had there once there's enough people. Especially too, because it's very closely tied to Kurzenstrad. And we pretty much already know at this point that like beginning of the game is going to be focused in Kurzenstrad. So it would be cool, maybe like 1 or 2 story arcs down the road, we can finally start really pulling in like Nordenmark stuff. So yeah, that's super cool. Love it. And especially the Baker thing. Again, kind of like with Eldritch wanting to be like an archaeologist. It's like the more personas that we see that are people who are like, I'm not just trying to be a guy with a sword and hit people the whole time.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome to me. That gets me super excited.
And it fills up a very important space in the game where it's like there's activity, like there's role play of activity going on that makes the town or makes the camp feel lived in and real. So
yeah.
I am Chungus Khan, Mason. Don't ever forget it.
But I mean, you would have time to develop your bakery skills up in the mountains of Obenwalden or wherever you're from, and there wouldn't be a lot of, I want to assume there wouldn't be a lot of warfare up there. So like those arts and sciences and all those things you'd have like the space to do it because you're like, I'm not under constant threat. Whereas like a Kurzenstrad person's like, I'm just trying to, I mean, I guess depending where you live in the area, but they're just trying to survive. So it definitely builds a different scope.
I really want people that want to be part of or allied, mayhaps liege lorded to Nurnik, because I see the Kurzenstrad story being the conflict between Ostrenburg and Nurnik, and what side, if any, the rest of Vassal falls on. Because that just seems like the big, like, if there was a major plot in the video game or the movie or the anything that is Vassal, it would seem to me like it's these two like places vying for control. And like these stories of people from other places kind of like experiencing it, you know, whether they're on the inside or outside of it, in between it, you know, or just trying to take advantage of it, or, you know, because I don't think we have anybody who's trying to be from Nurnik or loyal to Nurnik.
Actual Nurnik person.
Which yeah,
that's one cool. I was gonna say I'll put out a call for that now. People live or people watch us, you know, later on when it's on YouTube or whatever. If you want to do like the late period, I mean, technically we are inspired by like primarily Germany, but the Holy Roman Empire, but you know, a lot of the armor in the late 15th century, like, you know, if you look at Wars of the Roses, it pretty much is the exact same thing.
Yeah, over time, everybody got very similar.
Consider Nurnik because Roman Empire isn't real. Yeah, no, I agree.
Tell me, Mason, you have all the energy and all of
the fever dream,
the feverish. Like you really should be involved with the development of Constantia.
I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Because I really do think you have that, like, you just love Byzantine shit a lot, and I would really like to have you involved if you want to be.
But yeah, I was just gonna say though,
Discord invite.
If you have any interest in Nurnik, like, please, we would love to have you. It's the same aesthetic as the rest of Kurzenstrad. So again, if you're into that like Wars of the Roses, late 15th century feel, it's still that. I would say from the fantasy side of things, Nurnik in its writing has definitely been very inspired by like Nilfgaard from The Witcher. So especially too, if like black and gold is your color scheme and you're super into that, that's what they're going to be in the game. So like if you're inspired by Nilfgaard, that would be a great place to pick. And it would be hugely beneficial to have people who are actually from there for the start of the game. And it's not a dead end either. I mean, that's the other thing. That's something to really think about for any place in this game, is that like picking a place doesn't mean that like you're a one story arc villain and then it's like your persona's over. Unless you want it to be, it's up to you. But you know, Nurnik and whatever the future of Kurzenstrad is going to look like is like still going to continue to be a place with like political relevancy. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's just so much potential to be had there, and you're helping us out, and you're going to probably get to do some really sweet things down the line anyways. So definitely something to think about and consider.
Yeah, and like, go ahead. I don't want people to assume that it's like, oh, you want us to like NPC your bad guys for the first arc.
Yeah, it is not.
Like, no, I want you to be these people.
For no one's a bad.
You want to. Yeah, it's for as long. And it's like, I know we probably haven't said it in a while, but like, you don't die unless you want to die in Vassal.
Mm-hmm.
You can be maimed and taken out of, you know, action for a bit because you lose a fight, because fights aren't predetermined unless you want them to be. Like if you've got a story and you really want it to go a certain way, you can make it go that way if you get people to cooperate with you on that. But in a fight that is not improv or cooperated on, if you lose it, that person can't kill you unless you want your character to die. Yeah. And so it's not like we want to bring people in. So it's like, all right, like do the job so that, you know, Ostenburg can win and we can continue the story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Ostenburg can lose.
We don't know how that story is going to go. Like, we don't know how that story is going to go.
Well, and you could be a bad guy to someone, but that's their view. You're still you living in your culture, doing what feels right for you. So it isn't like Western storytelling or like, I guess a lot of storytelling where we're like, no, that's your role. It's like, no, you're a human like everybody else. You're doing your thing, and these people just don't like you. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Or like you're on the opposing side, like fighting for power, but you have your reasons. So it's not like a one trick pony type of role or character. Mm-hmm. Faiths and religions in the game.
And as I'm saying, to go off of what Tom just said, relevant to Tom, is that let's say you're a Nurnik character. Well, a lot of Overvoskin characters could have served there as mercenaries because there's a relationship between Nurnik and some groups in Overvoska. So like if you're a Nurnik character, yeah, maybe Dimitri hates your guts because you're his enemy, but Oleska might have a shared background with you, or at the very least is somebody who you might mutually consider, you know, friendly relations or something.
That's kind of the thing too, is that I know at the beginning the kind of loose idea we have is that Oleska tells Ingvar that, you know, like, I have friends in Nurnik that can like look after you for a while, but you have to leave here. So the idea is that like Ingvar and what few Druzhina he would have with him would show up there, and initially I don't know how it's going to go, but initially he would be in Nurnik looking for like anybody to kind of tolerate his presence, at least so that he can kind of, you know, recoup and try to muster, you know, some sort of, you know, simple existence out there to bide his time until he returns. It's not like I'm going to go straight to Kurzenstrad or to you know, like, what's going on here? It's like, yeah. I need somebody to look out to, and there's nobody in Ostenburg I would be connected to. So that's why I'd be going to Nurnik, and it's like, so I need somebody to like sort of be there so I could at least like, you know, it's like, you know, I'm here for a reason. It's like somebody sent me here because they said you'd help me.
Yeah.
you'd at least give me somewhere to be or tolerate me.
Or I mean, Obervoskans might even be viewed as like not necessarily heroes, but just like, wow, we
like
hired
old allies.
Yeah, like you did a good job, and like
there's
our
like
bond is there.
camaraderie and stuff.
They're familiar enough, that it's like I can't say that all of Curzon Strahd is going to be safe for you, but I can't say that Nurnik would be the safest part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of the idea I've always looked at it. So
we did our deed, we did it well, we left, and there was no hiccups. So it's just like, yeah, come on out.
Eldritch wants to know about faiths and religions in the game, which is another thing that's kind of like it's there, but it's not necessarily super important, mostly because we don't want people LARPing like Holy War.
Yeah, we are actively like trying to distance from that.
I mean,
it's
not that's the orcs of humans right there. I hate every other religion but mine. Brr.
Yeah,
and it's like, what role play is there?
There's no Christian analog. There's no Islam analog. There's no Judaism analog. There's no, there's nothing that's meant to represent or
no symbols or anything.
There's no simulation of like Abrahamic or ancient religions. I know that like there's Mason says just have faith in the Empire.
Yep.
Big game move. So I know personally in Obervoska there is a sort of sainted person that is not even that far removed in history that has kind of been deified in a way, but it's not necessarily a religion. I would say it's almost like I don't know. How would you describe it, Tom?
It depends on the region too, because I mean,
everybody kind of interprets it a different way.
My first thoughts is like, okay, Luciana is a folk hero. Nobody worships her. That's it. We're kind of like a secular group. We're kind of like a secular nation that just is like, hey, we trust each other. Hard work and we'll all band together and everything. But to me, it's like, well, to make it more interesting and show transitional periods in the country, when Lyonnais came in with their like monotheistic god, that's when Obervoska was like, okay, well, we have this really important person in history too, and in a way to combat you coming in and like infiltrating our culture, we are now going to deify this person we've always kind of looked up to as a way to like push our national identity back to be like, look, we got this, like, don't corrupt it or
like
whatever.
we already have something that occupies that space in our hearts.
Yeah, it's like iconography. Yeah, it's like
people don't worship her.
She's like
everybody. Yeah, everybody feels like they owe something to her, or they look to her. They want to,
She's like a martyr, but a victorious one that isn't like, I suffered for the people. It's like I was a hero. I had wisdom up until the end, and everyone just reveres her as like, wow, like what a human. Like, don't ever forget.
She's a big reason too that Obervoska is sort of not necessarily united, but the different oblasts aren't like at each other's throats. Before things were not necessarily collaborative, and functional, but Obervoska has never been as united as it was until Luciana stood against the Empire for them and gave them something to like put hope into and put their own faith in themselves, really.
Well, she represents too like the identity of Obervoska pre-Empire.
Yeah.
So a lot of energy was pushed into her being an icon. And like it really, Obervoska's huge. So and before this turns into like Obervoska episode, it just depends where you're from. So if you're from like the Northeast Oblast, that's where she's originally from. And like we have a character who's actually my roommate Andy who wants to do like a holy man thing, and that's where she's from. She died somewhere south of there in Vazrad, but because she's from Rodnoy, the people there, it's much more of like a very traditional, like more in touch with. So like she could be deified more there than say like in the Rosnik Oblast, which is like more of the modern political, empire boosted area where it's like they might just see her as a folk hero the majority, but it really just depends. It's all about what character you want to play. No one's going to be like, oh, no, you can't think of it this way because you're from here. It's just that the chances are that that area may be like, about that thought.
Yeah. Yeah, Eldritch, if you want to develop something that's like, like in this culture, there's this, we have this idea that our ancestors, turned into in afterlife, and they, stay connected with us and watch over us and, like shape our destiny and stuff. Go for it. But Vassal's never going to be a game about like we're going to Scar to kill these people because they believe their ancestors become jinns, or we're going to go burn Parkivia down because they worship trees.
We're gonna avoid that polarization of
there is no I hate you because of your faith.
No.
Like even like the Empire sort of pushing their faith on people, it wasn't like we hate what you believe in, because there really wasn't anything for us to believe in or for people to believe in. It was more just like, hey, here's what we're doing and we think it works great, you should do it too. By the way, we own all this now. And people are like, no, you don't.
It's
like,
the pursuit of power from the humans.
Yeah, there's no, like you're a, whatever they say, infidel, because you don't believe in my guy. Yeah. There's none of that. Because we're not, that's like, there's a lot of parts in history in real life that we want to simulate with this. It's the parts that we like. None of us like that part of real life.
Take all the goofy prejudice, even in fantasy stuff, or even you see in Warhammer where it's like, yeah, there's orcs and stuff, but it's like kill them all, and like we're not doing that, because this is more about the small world role play and like working together or not working together. Or
I look at people that are like, I want to LARP Holy War, pretty similar to people who are like, I'm an orc and I'm a bad guy. It's like, you don't want to think any harder than that, like, because I do. It's not like I hate you and I hate your fun. It's like, that doesn't look fun to me. Keep doing that where you're doing it. Well, I'm not going to create a space for
you. Can even do that, but like dial it back a lot, where your character might have their own personal ideas of what you'd like to see happen, but you still have to cooperate or interact with other people that are different than you. And like, it's like the same thing in social situations. If you started talking to someone politically or religiously or whatever that was different from you, and right away you're like, one true God, and like, you're a fool, like, people would be like, get out of here.
You'd be intolerable.
Like, get out of here. Yeah, like
there's been a lot of people that have not a lot, but like there's been several people that have come forward with kind of like, at least just to me personally, with ideas for like, hey, here's this character I want to be, and they have ideas for being like really intolerable. They're like, oh, like I want to be like a thief, and I'm like, I mean, you could show up and like create situations, scenarios of people where you like kind of LARP that you stole something and somebody needs to find you, because what you're doing there is offering something for people to do in the game and interact with. And I like that. If you show up and you're just a guy that like steals stuff and sneaks around, it's like, you're not going to be, everybody's going to know what you're doing, and you're going to be intolerable. And why would people tolerate it? Don't look at it like, I want to do this thing, so let me do it in the game. Look at it like, I need to be somebody who it's just like real life. Are you gonna go to the grocery store and start doing something wacky? No, don't go to Vassal and do something wacky. Do something realistic. Do something grounded. We're here to pretty much be other people. It's not just about like, I'm gonna go LARP, I'm gonna go play pretend. It's kind of about like immersing and becoming and creating a story for ourselves to kind of enjoy together. It's all very collaborative. So like, even if you are playing enemies with somebody, you are collaborating on that. You don't actually dislike this person, like you don't actually dislike what they're about. Like, it's somebody that you're going to be. It's like, I make a lot of analogies to pro wrestling. I know a lot of people haven't seen the side of pro wrestling I've seen, but when you are in like a feud with somebody in wrestling, and like you're going to wrestle them on several shows in a row, and it's going to build up to a big match and it finishes, that is your best friend for that entire time. You are very close with that person, and you know everything that you want to do. You know exactly what kind of story you're trying to tell. There's people that can see what you're doing. That's the idea I have for Vassal. Like, when people are enemies, they are very close behind the scenes. They know what kind of story they want to tell. And those are people who are going to be working with us as well, because we want to make your stories happen. And all the people that kind of surround you that might be part of your faction or just might be acquainted with you, those are not just an audience, but they're also people who are going to be interacting with the story you're telling. You're providing energy and space for people to kind of become who they want to be in Vassal. It's like a big web of just like energy being sent to everybody, and it turns into this, you know, fantasy place that we create. It's a very idealistic vision I have of it, but that's
But
that's
I
the
think that's
idea.
correct. Yeah, and even if you wanted to be like, hey, I'm a thief character and nobody knows or whatever, I mean, that's something maybe we can collaborate on and be like, so and so's in the city or in this camp for this event, and they have this very special item and it's gone missing. You would be
Yes.
part of that quest, but that's not something that you would do as like a one player character and go take
Yeah.
as a
I'm never
game
gonna
mechanic.
I'm
It's
never
gonna
gonna yeah, like approve like you're a thief and you steal stuff from people. It's like no, like we can create situations where it's like, everybody knows like this guy has this hoard of gold, he's trying to transport it. And like there might be people around town who, if you ask them, it's like, yeah, well, I know they kind of change the guard at this time, or I know they kind of move it around from place to place, and these are the times that they usually move it, and these are the places they usually go to. So like there might be info you can get to go try to steal it, or like go get a hold of it, or
But that's
like
something. It's an avenue that would be cleared by us to be like, yes, this is something that's going on at the event that you could
yes,
take part in, and like there might be an opposing force that like the person that's there is like, hey, whether we do like a quest board or however we end up doing it, like, hey, I'm transferring this thing, and there's thought to be these people around. Like, can I hire you as a guard, or
yes.
can I? So it'll be an activity. It'll never be
Mhm.
like, why does this character keep showing up at this event? They're like stealing my stuff out of my tent. Like that's never gonna happen,
Yeah,
never.
we're
So
not going for that level of, I don't
consent,
know.
consent, consent,
Yes,
100% all the time.
nothing's ever happening without somebody wanting to be a part of it. And like not everything can be planned out. A lot of people like to go full like improv with stuff, whether it's dialogue, whether it's combat, or whether it's the way things fall together in a story. But if there's ways that two people want a story to go, they can make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can force things into whatever you want it to be, especially and only almost if you make sure everything goes through with us as well. Because I mean, it's not like, oh, we planned this thing and we did it, so we want it to be real. It's like we can make sure that execution is like foolproof. You know, like we can make sure that that's a thing, and we can kind of instill it, in the game, so that I'm actually excited so far. What you have all done so far, all these concepts definitely show up as a potential visitor when things go down. Tight. So I'll put you on the list for people that are waiting for like an actual like registry rather than like be part of our development. What I love about real history is how much the empire influenced the Rus people through government, economy, religion, etc., more than anything else. Yeah, I think the Byzantine Empire really solidified that connection between like Eastern Europeans and like Middle Eastern, Arabic, and all these like because even Pekka was telling a story on Instagram the other day. I'm assuming he was in one of his Hungarian kits or something, and somebody mistook him for Moroccan. They asked him if he was like, "Oh, are you like wearing like a North African outfit?" And he's like, "No, actually, it's like this Eastern European thing." And they were saying how similar it was. And I mean, I didn't like take the time to like research and go look, but I could believe it because I see enough stuff where it's like people doing reenactment is Ottoman janissaries, and it's like, yeah, I mean, change the hat and the coat, and you look like a lot of other stuff from Eastern Europe. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of similarity between those cultures. I mean, that's where a lot of Eastern Europeans got sabers and curved swords from. They interacted with Tartars and they interacted with Turks, and
Yeah.
you're like, they got into it. And I mean, that's like how you get the Zishchag helmets because of the Kipchak helmets. Not the Kipchaks. I forget what they call them. The Turkish helmets that look very similar
Yeah.
to Zishchags. Like they got it from there.
Well, that's what's so cool
Um,
about this part of history too, is there was a lot of like traveling and trading and you. I mean, whenever you look at history and games or whatever, it's always like, okay, here's this really tight faction, here's this other really tight faction. They don't interact. They have this really, distinct look and culture, and it's this like clash of like how different they are, and it's like I mean, when you get into this time period, like there was a lot of like mixing of ideas and like political
Cultural
relationships.
crossover.
Yeah, the beautiful
yeah.
architecture is old medieval Russia is amazing, where they integrated Islamic and Byzantine architectures. Yeah, And I want to say too, like the whole like Byzantine thing, like it is gonna have its own situation in Vassal. So like when you say like, oh, Byzantine Empire and like for the Empire, like I don't really even know what the state of Constantia is as far as like I don't even know if they see themselves as an empire because they're a vassal state of Viscara.
Right. They actually operate under the region that's gonna mostly be based off the Ottoman Empire and Turks. So they're actually serving under an empire that they're not necessarily in charge of.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, Constantia is a vassal state. So to look at it from the historical side, this is basically like the Turks have already taken you over, and now like you're under them.
And that was years and years ago. So
yeah, it's not like a recent thing in the game. So like Constantia has been a vassal state for like the better part of 2 centuries. So this is something that's like, you know, there's no one alive who's like, I remember when we were free. Like none of that. Yeah, that's like so far gone. Not to say that there wouldn't be people who are discontent and who want to be independent. I mean, that certainly would and probably will exist. But that definitely just comes down to, you know, whatever players come up with and we collaborate on. You know, Constantia could be a vassal state for years to come, or it could become independent in its first story arc. You know, who knows?
There could be some crazy Obravoska, Stravania, Constantia like alliance. Maybe one day we'll take on Ascara, or maybe one day maybe it'll never happen
there.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's just the aesthetic is there. If you got the kit for it, like all that stuff will be there. It's just there's a different challenge to face in this history versus like, oh, I'll just push it all over and just it'll be easy. It's like, well, no, there's different elements but
something to kind of bring up too, going off that, this just came in my head, but we talk a lot about like storylines and ideas of like what's going to happen in the game. And to make the point, but because I think it also illustrates what we have planned for like the game so far as gameplay goes. You know, if we talk about like, oh, a huge like Constantia war to fight Ascara, definitely be under the impression that it's not something that will happen anytime soon. One, because for something like that, we do need player representation. Like it won't really be able to happen until there's players to make it happen. So that will take time. But the second thing is that, you know, we've talked a lot about it this episode, is that, you know, there's a lot that's going to happen that's not going to be related to like huge wars in this country versus that country. Like that's the stuff that's not going to happen a lot. And then when it does happen, it's going to be a huge friggin' deal. And hopefully it's epic and awesome.
Yeah,
but it's like
those changing.
Yeah, it's not like every event. Yeah, and this is definitely not a game where like every event is going to be like a huge, different, earth-shattering war. And like, you know, we could go a whole calendar year where maybe there's only one war, and it's just like maybe there's like 2 or 3 events where battles happen, and the rest of it is people like hosting tournaments and feasting and having celebrations for things. And, you know, so it's like a lot of these like big like geopolitical storylines will take actual real world time to build and develop.
The build up to like big shit happening in Vassal is going to be parallel to the population growing to a point where we can actually realistically represent like a big battle or a big thing happening. It's never going to happen when the player base is only 20 people.
Yeah.
You know,
well, especially if we have a lot of like uncommon folk people, like we are going to need players that will play nobles or we're going to need all that stuff and it's going to be like the players' decisions over time. Of course, you know, collabed with us and all that stuff with story, but like, yeah. So good. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, that's the big reason too, why we've been saying that the story will probably, you know, the story, not everybody really has to engage with it that way, but stuff's going to happen in Kurzenstrad first. The reason that's happening is because that's where pretty much half of the player base is there right now. So it's the area where we can make things semi-believably happen.
It's like the only place too where like things like lore-wise are happening right now.
Yeah.
Like, so it just seems like the most sensible place where everybody can kind of get involved or even just be around.
And geographically, it is kind of like in the middle of the map too. Yeah. So for the beginning, where like, again, like if you come from say like Svithland, like you're probably the only Svithland player right now. Like maybe like you and one other person. So this is a time where it makes the most sense to be like, oh, I'm traveling through for whatever reason, and I pass through here because it's in the middle of wherever I was trying to go.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do like the wandering passerby thing with Kurzenstrad being the location. Whereas if we were out in like East Obravoska by like the Udapris Sea, it really would raise the question of like, why are any of you people here right now? You know,
Yeah,
like
there's
there'd be
nothing
like
going
no
on over here.
convincing reason to be like, oh yeah, all these guys from this place like 1,000 miles away are like chilling out here.
Well, and like Kurzenstrad is definitely, because it hits home for you, Rob, with all the stories and stuff, but like it's the hotbed for activity right now.
Yeah.
So like there is a
It
lot
is,
of
yeah,
warfare.
it's the one place where there is a lot of armed conflict happening. So
not to
yeah,
say
so,
that other places can't have it, it's just not developed yet. Those other places,
or that players can't make it happen or anything. But
I wanted to say real quick too, Eldritch said something about, I was wondering that my character is influenced by Middle Eastern aesthetic, though my character's mother, through my character's mother, but have the Vanoan Italian aesthetic by my character's father. I mean, that's something that can definitely happen too, because Iskara being a huge empire, and they're connected to the sea right there. I mean, Vanoa is right in the middle of that sea. Like, I'm sure there's going to be port trading and all that stuff. Like, I mean, it would be, we haven't really developed, like, is Iskara like open to, I'm sure they would be, because they're not like really fighting anybody on the Vassal map as it stands now in the known world, but you wouldn't be like, no, you Vanoans can't come in here. There's nothing really like that going on. So it could totally be reasonable that like some Vanoan sailor or dignitary or someone went out east and had business for some, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's all kinds of like, if you think about Mount & Blade, there's all kinds of like ambassadors and emissaries and people traveling to different areas, especially now that the Empire's been gone for 30-ish years, trying to make connections and alliances. And I mean, so that's just not out of the, we wouldn't be like, no, that can't happen. You know what I mean? It's just it's up to you to like write the story or like pass it by us and be like, well, what do you think? Like, we're never
to
be
make
like, no.
it seem convincing and real,
yeah,
and grounded in the setting. And that's just the rule of thumb for anything in this game.
Yeah.
You know, is it's like, you know, we can kind of talk about like light limitations and soft boundaries, but the truth is like whatever you can make actually work and make sense probably has a good chance at flying.
Yeah. And that's why we're like so welcoming to everyone coming in and being like, hey, let's fill up the world together, because we want,
it's like we don't want people coming in saying like, well, I'm a mix of this and this and this just because I want to, and for no reason that's relevant in the game. That's where we're going to be like, no,
you gotta come up with
we gotta
a reason.
Talk about this.
Yeah, you gotta have.
But if you have a reason that's like relevant to your character, relevant to your motivations, maybe relevant to something that's going on in the game world, then yeah, like a lot of stuff's gonna work. You just gotta put effort, some brain energy.
Yeah.
Into it.
or even if you're like, I have this idea, but I don't know where to go from here, take the initiative and to contact one of us, and we'll talk. I mean, you know what I mean? That's the big issue that I still want to continually broadcast out, is I know that there's people right now working on apps that are too busy, or real life happens and everything and all that stuff. But it's like, I will almost, and this sounds silly, but like I will almost like write it for you. Like with the ideas you have, I'll at least give you realistic avenues to be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Like creative stuff.
The caveat with that is that you will have a connection with Alezka.
No,
because everybody does.
Everybody does.
Everybody knows me. No, but that's, you know what I mean. So I want to open up that invite to more people to be like, don't be afraid to reach out and be like, hey, what details can we work out? Because the four of us know what's going on in the world, and we have all the information pretty much. And if you're not on the Discord, maybe you can be soon. But all the resources for the most part, or a lot of resources are there. So, but there's a lot of stuff that's not there that we may be able to comment on.
Yeah, it's like if you wanted to be part of the Druzhina, there's no resource for you to find out what the Druzhina is about and how to join, because at the beginning of the story in Vassal, the Druzhina are literally like Ingvar and two of his friends, so you have to take initiative and like hit me up, which is like what Merrick did. He's like, hey, I think I want my character to like be a member of Druzhina. So now we chat back and forth about who his character is going to be and
That's
how
awesome.
they're going to, whether they're going to start as an old friend of Ingvar, whether we're going to be meeting for the first time and they're going to be somebody that heard what I did and believes my side of it and came all the way to like
Sought
find
you
me and
out.
support me. Like, we got to figure it out. I'm like, it's literally whatever you think is going to be the most fun and the most fulfilling to you, and I just want to make it happen for you.
Yeah, because I mean, there's got to be more people other than Ingvar that like disagreed with what happened.
Yeah,
and so
I would like to hope that there was enough people, and I mean especially people from like the Cossack culture within the Rosnik Oblast that have felt sort of like we got the raw deal on all of this. Like when all of Rosnigov came together and all these cultures started like, oh, we're gonna have this council that meets in Rosnigov and kind of, you know, dictates how this all works and how things are going. It's like the Cossack folks, I think, are gonna kind of feel like they got the raw deal. I mean, especially after like
they lost their
being
representation.
Yeah, and like it's like, well, we had our own thing that worked fine. Like when we were on our own, you know, and it's like it's I'd like to think that there are people who are almost just waiting for an excuse, which is also a lot like real life, or like they're waiting for somebody to do something. It's like, yeah, I'd like to see this all change. I'd like to see things happen, but I'm not going to be the one that does it. So
yeah.
A lot of people are just waiting for somebody to do something, and like Ingvar is that person. Ingvar started doing something.
Well, and really in the story, Ingvar kind of got forced to do it for his own.
Oh yeah, he didn't have a choice.
Survival. So it kind of like, you know, it just played out that way, which I'm really psyched to like either make a movie or
yeah, I really want to either do a video of that and possibly even hire like a middle-aged actor to portray my dude, my caretaker, my adopted
Kanovsky,
sort of,
dude.
Yeah, Kanovsky, or
what his first name was.
Even do like just do like a photo shoot, you know, and sort of portray the events, then like write a couple blurbs of what went down. It would be really cool to get like an older person to play Kanovsky and do some dialogue and do some special effects and have me fucking blow him away, you know, and like get blood splattered on me.
Even you'd be like, oh,
yeah, and just be like almost like fucking drop the gun and just like fucking like start running. And
yeah, which would humanize Ingvar too. Like
like Josh added into that he wants to have been there when it happened. So it's going to be something that kind of affects Milos too.
It bonds Milos to you even more
because he's going to be like the one person that was there and like really understands 100% like what happened, what went down. You know, like me coming to Kanowski this information, him kind of affirming like, yeah, this is how this works. Like,
well, and it's a great testament too for anyone that would want to join the Druzhina, that someone else was there besides you to confirm, like, no, like we're essentially trying to be like freedom fighters here, and like I was there, like this is what happened. I've chatted more with Rihanna about the other character that we've been kind of like talking about that they would play, and I would like that character to be more involved with both of us being the voivoda of Rosnigov, to like having a sort of like friendship with you, because you would answer to them. Yeah, I would answer to them. We were chatting a little bit yesterday, I think, right, where it was basically like you doing that is so almost out of character to them that they'd be like not immediately be like capture him and jail him. Maybe I find you first on my own accord. You go out west. When I return to say I didn't catch him, have that character be like, I need you to find out what's going on, so go out west, and not to capture him this time, but go out west to like, because she would have known Kanovsky as well. You know what I mean? So there's more like I want to make that character more involved, because that character that character's the commander of the entire Rosnik Oblast, so they would have to be involved. So it's just cool how we have these basic storylines that we've had since way back when, and introducing these new characters, it kind of like morphs it to become even more real and even more details and involving more people, and like that's really exciting and really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things that I've done, and I've been like in a lot of bands. I've, you know, done like wrestling with
beer
people
now.
I have beer now. I'm
Oh, we got it. There it is.
I'm drinking my own beer.
Hell yeah.
But when I start talking to people about Vassal and who they want to be in Vassal and the stories they want to tell, and especially when we can like talk about like every time me and Tom talk about like Ingvar and Aleska and like how I know we're setting ourselves up to probably become close and hopefully become friends and possibly end in an ugly way just because it would be a cool story to tell. I get really excited about that. I get excited about, you know, like people wanting to belong to Constantia and have this sort of, you know, idea about, you know, not maybe begrudgingly belonging to Iskara in the form of a vassal state, but kind of like wondering why we can't, you know, make things happen on our own. So maybe they leave Constantia and they're like, we got to make something of ourselves. So all of a sudden there's these Constantian mercenaries, you know, showing up. I don't know. I just like seeing people that have motivation, you know, it's cool. It's really cool.
It's what makes the world go round. I mean,
What's up,
that's something too, where it's like even people who play, because I think it's easiest for the military characters to be the most one-dimensional, because it's just like, oh, I'm a soldier, and you know, it's kind of almost like we were saying back to like the orc thing, where it's like it's very easy to just stop there and never think about it again, you know.
Yeah. And it's like I'll never stop anybody who really just, I don't want to be much more than this, I don't want to have to think much further than that. That's cool, because you know what, I guess we need people like that anyways to kind of just be there and be
like rank and file dudes.
Yeah, be retainers for somebody who has a lot going on.
Yeah,
you know.
But I was gonna say, but it excites me even though when those people still have like, again, just something beyond that, like a really good motivation to why they're fighting,
and
or like something like that they're trying to make something make happen. You know, even if it's as simple as like, well, I support X player / their character because they have this political ideal, and like I'm somebody who believes in that and is trying to make it happen. Yeah. You know, so it's like kind of almost like Yuri, you know, like he follows Ingvar because he actually believes in like what Ingvar wants to do, and because he feels like he was you know, like lied to by the system, and he thinks like, okay, well, if I can help this guy get into power, and whether or not he stays there, but he kind of like reshuffles things, then like that can create the future I actually want to see. Now, is the character just a dude who swings a sword? Yeah, pretty much. But at the same, but again, though, but there's that one extra layer of depth, though, that it's like now when you're swinging a sword, though, there's actually a little bit of a reason to care that you're doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think everybody having that approach, it's like that's what we look for in the application process when you write us your character bio. Like, I know you can throw on a helmet and a breastplate and carry a sword and say I'm a soldier, but can you take it one step further and just have something else that we can latch on to, either for yourself or for somebody else who wants to be connected to you? Like if you come in with a buddy, you know, and you want to play characters who are friends, okay, cool. Why are your characters friends? And that's the stuff that makes the game world feel real.
Or like be prepared to like have this like, because really your motivation and like who you're siding with, that's all like the backbone to maybe place you where you are. But be prepared to like think about like, what am I doing when I'm not getting real like jived up to go to battle? Like what do humans do? Like even people that actually like serve in the military, like they have lives. They probably have other stuff they would rather be doing. You know what I mean? So it's almost like we look at the medievalism and be like, yeah, they stabbed each other and bopped each other in the head a lot, but they had lives too. So think about like if you've ever played D&D or even like played like role-playing games where you get to like have a little bit of dialogue with a character that's like serving or whatever. Like there's always, not always, but there usually are elements of you find out kind of more about them and what they do when they're sitting in camp. Or like maybe your character really likes Corby's bread and just can't get over how good it is. Like,
it's probably
I live for that.
It probably is going to be good.
Don't make me role play that it's good, Corby. Make it good.
I'm realizing the more that I'm kind of getting exposed to other groups that play D&D, we were very spoiled.
Oh, I know.
We have a very involved DM that like thinks about all that stuff and is pretty much ready on a dime to play a rank and file person that has feelings and motivations and history and traumas, and even let you interact with people who are massively important, and to the point where little things we've done have like changed the scape of the world. And I would be kidding myself if I wasn't saying that like a lot of the I'm trying to think of the word, but inspiration and sort of like ideology that Vassal has is very much inspired by the experience that we've had, with our dungeon master who lets us be as involved as we want to be, and go where we want to go and do what we want to do and be who we want to be.
I've said that both to them and I think to this audience that it's a big inspiration.
Yeah.
For what? For just like the off the cuff organic storytelling, trying to be prepared for the choices that people make. The only difference is like a lot of this will probably have like, some kind of not predetermined, but pre-discussion. But
just
things
like
that
knowing
happen
where
at
it's
events,
going.
Yeah, things that happen at events will also be in some way recorded by like writing it down or whatever. So like it's like the next event from here, or like say you meet Ingvar and something happens and like you see him at another event, like he may remember you or like you for some reason. It's not gonna be like, well, I don't, that happened, that trivial thing. Like it's just like real friendships or whatever. Like it can make an impact. So
that's we can always discuss like predetermined, like or even a past that we might have. If we don't know each other in real life, we can figure out a way that our characters do, and we can act accordingly, make it happen. But if you feel like making that happen naturally, then that's all you got to do is start, trying to find this Ingvar guy and like, don't be a pud, and Ingvar will probably be all about it, and
think about it realistically. If
seem useful and to not only to his cause, but as like, it's almost like he's surviving out there, so it's like, we don't need another body out here unless they're going to be good to us, and good for us. And it's almost going to be a sort of like, how do I know you're not here for worse reasons, but
yeah, like if you spotted somebody that looked like Ingvar in a place that even as hard as he's trying, you could tell he's not from there. How likely would you be to walk up to them and be like, hey, I'd heard that you killed somebody, or which you'd be ignorant to, but like there would be a lot of risk to walk up to a stranger that you may think looks a little disheveled or has been traveling. You might be like, man, like I don't even know who that is. But if you feel like your character would be bold or whatever and try it, just know you don't know what the reaction's going to be. So just all those things, but not to discourage anyone from approaching you. But I'm just saying, if people hear us talk about it, you wouldn't necessarily know that happened.
Yeah. It's just like going up to talk to somebody in D&D and rolling that diplomacy, or just rolling a charisma check and seeing how you do. Except you don't get to roll. But it's like, if you want,
roll is your actual charisma.
If you want to,
how well do you actually play it off?
And it doesn't have to be that way. If you don't have a confidence in, like, I don't know if I can get across what I want to do by doing that, we can talk about it beforehand. It's like, hey, I really want to be part of the Druzhina.
Yeah.
Like, I want to role play a thing where I show up and like, it's all cool. And I'm like, yeah, we could make that happen. Like, I'm never going to be like, no, you suck at this.
Not buying it. You miss out.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, but we could do whatever.
Why'd you embarrass me at that event? You didn't really.
You make me
no
sick.
No one's gonna do that.
You should be in pain.
Corby says, I'm 100% going in with, I really don't know who any of these people are. I just know people got to eat, and everybody likes the man who has the food. Hey,
there you go.
That's the thing.
It's true.
And that bread you mentioned earlier does sound really good.
I just love bread. Bread by itself is fucking awesome.
You got to come up with cool, like, Nordenmark type names for your different breads. That'd be tight.
Weren't things simpler under Leonet? Just
all of a sudden there's like
record
a bar
scratch.
What'd you say? That'll be fun. I can't wait for like when we have our like evening tavern space, and like just a shit ton of people from different groups like hanging out under one roof.
Yeah.
And like just like in real life, dude, you used to have time like in a bar, like somebody brings up a political comment, and then the guy next in the group right over hears it, and he's like, "What the fuck did you just say?"
It's gonna be like in Fiddler on the Roof when the Russian police show up, and it's like a Jewish wedding, and instead of like fighting, they all just start dancing in a really aggressive way with each other, and it's supposed to simulate like there's this tension going on, but instead they're just dancing and drinking a lot. It's just really good.
It could happen.
That would be
here.
really cool if like it was tense and like someone at the actual event was like, as a character, like, I gotta break this tension, and like started playing like a well-known like national tune where people are like, all right, or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like a cool thing that like broke up the brawl. That'd be cool.
Corby at knife point. You may be wondering how I got here. I like how Corby is now the main character of Vassal.
I was gonna say, the story of Vassal is the story of Corby now.
Christina, we gotta start nailing down this Saragon stuff.
Yeah.
We just
need
got
activity.
Not because
shenanigans.
there's like a due date or anything, just because I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm just excited about feeling. I want to be able to look at that map and know exactly what people are about and what it's like at every point on it. Just so I could, rest my head easy that we don't have empty space anymore.
Or even if you've decided to wait a minute, why is this? Even if you decided, hey, I want to be from here, start contacting one of us or all of us or whatever, or on the Discord, and being like, here's what I like about these aesthetics that it represents. Can this be in Saragon? Or, let's actually start to like collaborate and form ideas, and not, if at all anyone, and this isn't pinpointed at Christina, but it brings up a good point. Like if anybody's waiting for an area to be developed, but you want to play a character from there, you have a pass right away to be like, hey, I want to get involved. How can I help develop this area? Or here's some of my ideas. Don't just wait for it to be developed, because that's why we're bringing people into the Discord, to be like, share your ideas and like, let's get this off. Because who knows? I mean, we have a lot on our plate. So,
Yeah, like if you're waiting around for, Iskar to be more developed, you're going to be a while, because we literally have nobody that's like showing a lot of interest in like developing it, just people who kind of want to play it. So if you feel like you got it in you, or if you just want to start that conversation, just come on, let's get to it. If you want to see it happen, you got to make it happen. Don't dream it, be it. That's from Rocky Horror. Don't dream.
Man, I wish Robbie would have got back to me on that video, because I want to share his video.
Oh, the new one.
Rob IE did another really good video.
Everybody message Rob IE.
Yeah, we're just not positive he wants it shown on here, and I would hate to do it, and I don't know. I can't think of a reason why it would bother him, but you just never know, and I don't want to assume.
Yeah, you never want to assume.
But I mean, we could chill out his YouTube. If you want to give out the name, type in chat so that people can go watch it, and like maybe we'll hear back from him within the next 14 days. We could show it on the next one.
It's called Blood and Steel, a combat channel. The video is called Blut, with Vassal in parentheses. It's a great little film. If he would pop in here or respond to my message, we could show it right now. But no obligation. I think he was playing a video game. Anyway,
that's fine.
But yeah, really cool. Another continual example of somebody that is really stoked and adding a lot of content and creativity and inspiration. We really got a scene forming here. I mean, between Josh and I look at Rob IE stuff and I'm like, man, like you can tell that people are talented and passionate about this stuff. And if Vassal is like the little nugget of like the little spark that makes people want to do it, like I'm proud of that. I'm excited about that because it's the whole core basis of the idea of why we're doing this is like it's a stage for people to be creative. and all of us to like celebrate that together. So it's just really, I don't know, it's just really cool to see people trying something that maybe they have always wanted to try, but this movement is finally like, they're like, I'm gonna do it, or like I saw someone else do it. It's really awesome.
Definitely. And I've said this before too, but the thing I really like about people who are doing like cool immersive photo shoots, or like Josh and Rob, like making videos, is it's a very good way to engage with the content without like physically showing up to a game, especially right now when we're not hosting any, because it gets you doing something. You're creative, you're engaging with your character, you're engaging with the setting, which in a lot of ways helps make you more familiar with it. So when there are events to go to, you're going to be one step more comfortable with everything that's going on. So yeah, it's just real cool to see it.
It puts something permanent that people can look at and know who your character is and what you're about. So like, you never know how many people that's going to inspire for, like, oh, like I want to interact with Sigismund. I want to go do something with Sigismund. So they might just come up to you at an event and try to make something happen.
Yeah, it's very accessible for people to watch. I was even chatting with the old Rob IE about character app stuff. Just like even questions I had. And that's another thing too. If you have your idea going and you want us to check it out or like critique, I don't know, not that it needs to be critiqued, but if you're like, hey, what do you think about this before I submit it, we're all more than willing to do that. I had questions about like people, like I think Robbie's talked about it on the show before, but like his dad was wounded by an Obervoska mercenary, and I was like, where was he shot? And like, you know, the Sigismund story is like he's gonna go out west he's gonna go southwest to find Dmitri and like align with him. And I'm like, I raised a question like, you know, why leave your dad in Bern? Why not bring him with you? Or you know what I mean? Like if he's just shot in the arm, what, you know, wouldn't you want to take him to a safer place? Because that area is kind of like war torn. So like, what are you leaving him in care of someone, or like just those little details of like, that's a perfect example to think about when you're writing a story. Because like it's easy to be like, oh, this happened and I'm mad about it, and like this is the motivations of my character. And it's like, if it's the backbone of what your character's doing, think about those really common questions of like, you know, I left him in care of my uncle who is a member of this thing, so I felt safe and I knew that I'd be back soon. And maybe like, this is just an example, and this isn't canon for Sigismund's story, but it's just stuff to think about of like, maybe he meant to go out west temporarily and finds himself out there for way longer. You know, it's just those little things that, those little details that you wouldn't think, or you would think like, hey, I came up with a reason and that's it. Like elaborating just a little bit adds more of that realism, I think.
Yep.
Something to think about.
Absolutely. Something to consider too, real quick, when you're thinking about like character story and like how things are going to progress. And this is not to say always do this and never give your character a win, because one, that's not realistic in most cases, but two, you should enjoy those victories. They should happen from time to time. But as many writers will tell you, one of the best ways to keep a storyline going and keep it interesting is fuck things up. Don't succeed at what you're doing, you know. So if you're really trying to plot out a storyline and you want it to have like twists and turns, don't succeed at everything. You know. So it's like Tom was just saying, like, oh, he, you know, traveling to Austrienberg was just supposed to be like a quick stop. Well, okay, well suddenly now it's not. So what happened? Something went wrong, and then before you know it, you could be on a totally different line of events that are happening, and guess what, that's a whole new thing for you and your character to experience.
Yeah, like things may have not worked out in any way that you planned, but that's really just kind of your catapult into the game. You could totally go in a different direction where you're like, these aren't my real motivations anymore, because like just like think about different avenues just with Sigismund as an example. Maybe he'd choose to bring his dad along, and like maybe his dad dies on the road, and that deepens his like drive to be like, I don't even have him anymore, or like or like, you know what I mean, like just things like that weren't initially thought of that could very well happen in a chaotic, you know, rough world. Just little things like that Because I mean,
or Dimitri's an asshole and won't help him. So guess what? He goes to Nernick, and now Nernick's got a player.
Yeah. So it's just all those things. Like, think about it. Like, you may think the small details aren't important, but it's the small details. Because our whole lives in some way are small details. They're big things to us, but the little things that happen. Look how many little things throughout the day will like change your mood. Medieval people may have been tougher than us as we think they are, but things probably went wrong a lot. I don't know, but
I'm sure all the time.
They're all great pivot points for storytelling, like Rob said.
And a good part of that too ties into the core philosophy of the game, which I know we've talked about, and it's probably something we want to keep talking about so that people, like Mike was saying earlier, people got to have the right idea of what this is about. As much as it's good for storytelling, it ties in with, this is not a game that you're trying to win.
Right.
This is not a game where you're trying to make every single thing be like, I won Vassal, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so like, who knows? Maybe you get caught up in like a sword duel or a tournament or who knows what on the battlefield, and maybe like lose, like just to see what happens, or at the very least be open to the idea that you're going to lose. And if you do, have in your head that like, okay, well, if I lose this, I'm going to play it off as whatever happens, and then that's going to be a whole new string of things to happen for the game. Because I think that is also another thing. Some people aren't as comfortable with the role play aspects, whether they just never get into it, or it's never been an interest, or they've had the wrong D&D groups, whatever reason. And it's like, if you just win everything and there's never like a source of conflict and there's never really a reason to do anything, you're probably going to be the person at the event who's scratching their head saying, what do I do here? So I think if you set yourself up to be open to things happening that you maybe weren't planning originally, or be open to creating your own conflict, then I think you're going to find yourself with a lot more to do. So again, don't look at the game necessarily always as like, I have to win. Just try to think like, what is the best possible outcome to make something happen in the story? Because that's going to give you something to do.
Yeah, it's really not. Yeah, it's not about winning. It's like, it's about being as involved as you would like to be, and if shaping the story or being present and during some event happening, or you developing some relationship with a character. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of like the whole thing. That's kind of like the whole, well, not the whole experience, but a big chunk of it.
Corby says if you need conflict, come argue with me in the tavern. Yeah, he'll tell you about how much he loves the Empire, and then we'll all pull our knives out and corner him.
Well, and it'll be a cool, and he like lifts up a loaf of bread. Huh? It'll be a cool thing even to like, not saying every Nordenmark person is, but like maybe some Nordenmark people are pretty ignorant to how the Empire affected the rest of the world, and that they may not be bad people, but when they finally travel, might be like, oh shit, like, we had it really good. And that might be a turning point for your character growing some. Or you might be like, nah, you guys had it all wrong. Like, why'd you try to fight them? Like, we partnered up, and like, look how great my life was. Like, look at my garments. Like, look at my bread. Like, there's all these types of things that can happen. But it was all so far removed now that no one's going to be like, what? Because there's many generations, or a few generations that have lived that weren't under Empire rule. So it just depends where you're from and how it affected you, right?
Correct, Tom. Correct. Corby's truly the focus of Vassal. Yes, he is. Corby, you're the star of this episode.
Get an app in. No,
yeah, get an app in. It goes to show how even something as what people would see simple as like, I want to be a baker. I mean, look at the level of enthusiasm and everything with what could seem to some people as a trivial job. Already, we're all like super stoked to like hear about it, and like it's what you put into it, really. So, yeah.
Well, we're hitting the 2-hour mark. Did we have anything else? Because I know, Tom, you made it sound like we had a whole lot of things to talk about. I mean, we've done good. It's 2 hours, but
sometimes
do we have anything else
to
hit?
It's all about just creating that illusion. So I don't know.
Sometimes the real adventure is the friends you make along the way. That's See you later, guys.
Yeah, if it were possible to show that video of Rob I.E., I would show it. But I feel like at this point, without that, I feel like that's a good.
Yeah, I don't want to show it unless I can explicitly see from him that he's cool with it. Because for all I know, I was gonna say he might want to be on the show so he could talk about it when we show it.
Yeah.
I guess just because I want to pick your brain, and I don't care if it happens on the air. Did you see that Bale's talking about starting to try to get a building for us at Beakeline?
I saw a little bit of that. Also, I want to say a huge congrats to Jeremy because I had no
that
knowledge.
Place looks awesome.
It does, and I had no knowledge. And when I saw it, I got this very like. It wasn't jealousy. It was like shock, but also like, man, I bet that is going to be so cozy for them.
I mean, I say it all the time, dude. That ever since we like met them and got close to them, I'm like, let's just join Carcosa.
I know.
Like, why not? Like
Yeah.
I don't have feelings that are big or personal enough about Beakeline to be like, oh, but we got to do our own thing there. Like, I am so happy just falling in line with a group of people that I like to be around so that we don't have to think about shit like that. Have a place to be, have people to be around, have shit to do probably most of the time. Like,
let us just invite ourselves into your new home is what.
They already asked us before.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Marcus literally like every time we'd be like, hey, like we want to pick your brain about like certain faction, he just goes, just drink Carcosa over and over again.
Yeah. But no, super huge congrats. That place does look awesome.
I'm
I did see that post.
I really hope that we can do something cool. Because I know like the typical is just like, yeah, we have a building, and I'm like, yeah, but I want like a small fort.
Yeah, if
like
we do end up doing something, yeah.
I've always imagined like like a small. It doesn't have to be huge, but like a small, like walled in courtyard kind of area where we like hang out, have a fire, and like have room for maybe a couple tents if people can't all fit inside, and like spar out there and party out there, and then have like a bigger gatehouse where like there's bunks and stuff for people to sleep in. Like that's what I've always imagined for us. It was more like a small fortress than like, oh yeah, it's just like a building we have,
Yeah, as long as there's a little bit of a space with tables and chairs that look like the intro scene with Fire and Sword, where I can sit and drink whatever that red wine they had. That's all I want. I want to have like a cool door with like a wood frame around it, and then just wood walls. And I want there to be some hay for some reason. What I really want to do is do the platform hanging from the chains where they put like candles for the lighting.
Hell yeah.
That was really, I've never even thought of that before.
Oh,
I mean,
that
might
might
be a fire hazard, but
is do like the Potop thing, or like the Hellish Court stage where they're on top of the gatehouse and there's all those nooses with bodies.
No,
dude, that stage is so dark.
I know.
The first time I loaded into that, I was like, "What?"
They literally just lifted that from Potop. There's like a Cossack fort, and they just have bodies hanging from the gatehouse.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say about the weekend hanging. Is that
you want to watch Potop?
Well, you had mentioned, is Green Knight gonna be on DVD by then?
It comes out. Sure? So yeah, I had Natalie order it for me, and I should be getting it October 12th.
Okay, because I was going to say, obviously,
I should be able to bring it over.
Tom hasn't seen Green Knight, so I do think if we have the means, we should watch it. But I was also like, if Green Knight doesn't work out, I'd be down to watch Potop.
Yeah. Can you make it through Potop? It's 5 hours.
I've watched.
I mean, we might have to take like some breaks.
Yeah, well, there's actually intermission. We can
watch it.
There's literally like a part in the middle that's like an.
We will just actually intermiss.
Movies used to be so cool.
The intermissions. That's it. That's just how we'll do it.
I mean, yeah, even if, because I know I said like, oh yeah, I could write like a one shot. If you guys want to do that like Saturday night, just get drunk and watch Potop, I would love to.
I think that could be it.
Yeah, it's 4 hours and 46 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm down. I'm in.
Two and a half really hours. Awesome. Take a break. Do another 2.5 hours. Yeah.
The story changes a lot to where you're like, oh, like it's really detailed.
And like Tom always understands these things, so like even if it's hard for you to like follow with like
I've watched it like 20.
Well, I figure that's the thing. Tom can be like my open encyclopedia.
And like he freaks out and he reads all the articles about like the story and stuff. So
but I'll try not to talk too much.
I mean, I'm trying to think though. I don't understand shit usually until you explain it.
Is Bohun in with Fire and Sword or Potop?
Yes,
with Fire and Sword.
I have both of them. So
I was gonna say I really actually want to watch with Fire and Sword.
Yeah. With Fire and Sword, it was more modern and it's like a little.
That's
more
almost
like,
3 hours.
Yeah,
I'd be super down for with Fire and Sword.
It's definitely way more like Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Potop is like this like grand historical like
epic. Yeah.
I think it takes itself more seriously than with Fire and Sword does. But with Fire and Sword, it's definitely like an epic film that's like they wanted it to be like a big successful popcorn flick. They weren't trying to like create art with it.
Potop is like a epic, and there's like gory moments, and it's a lot more of like a period piece where like they have a lot of extras, like big expanding landscape shots.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like
that's pretty sweet.
It kind of has like a slow move. Yeah,
it's so immersive.
With Fire and Sword, it's more like a Lord of the Rings, Robin Hood. Like it keeps you paced with like it's more about the characters.
It's like Kingdom of Heaven, where it's like they change up a lot of it so that it's like, oh yeah, we made Balian like way younger, and we like added this thing where he's like romantically involved with the queen, and we made Godfrey not like a senior citizen so that him and Balian can have a fight, because like in history it's like these guys didn't have sword fights.
I was gonna say they definitely probably didn't interact.
Well, yeah, that'd be tight. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet. We can drink the Mad Dog.
I will be bringing for sure a 4-pack. If you guys want more, just order it, and I'll see your name, and I'll just pick it up for you.
Yeah, I just want to taste it because if you said it's real tart, I got like.
It's tart. Like I don't. That's the thing too. Is like I don't know if anybody's. I know Andy wants a pack, so I'm gonna really tell him like, hey man, if you want a whole pack to yourself, like, cause I'm trying not to be too greedy. They're like, take whatever you want, dude. And I'm like, I want you guys to sell some of this,
Yeah, like, you're not trying to like.
I already took a whole case for myself. So
you are a business, yeah. You gotta make some money.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like, they already do a lot for me, just to give me a job at all. I'm like, I'm not gonna start taking advantage of shit like that. So,
dude, hell yeah, it's gonna be awesome, dude. I'm looking forward to it. Looks like it's gonna be a weekend full of tapping with swords and drinking and watching some great cool historical film.
Yes. I want to play some Switch bowling. I want to go to Two Toms. It's making me really want to show up Thursday if I can. If I can get off Friday, it makes me want to show up early so I can have like more time to like fit in everything.
I mean, we'll probably be there late Friday night again.
I was gonna say, because Tom, you work, right?
I work, and I'm about to hit it, but I'm still in my 90 days, so I don't really get like
so you're not like taking time off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, I want to get my bowling out of my system, so I might show up Thursday.
Get swinging the balls around, and then when we get there, we'll start the.
And even if we really want to watch Potop Saturday night, we can like try to go to Two Toms for like lunch instead.
Yeah,
and this time I think we should definitely drive, so I could take advantage of my VIP drinks and get real fucked up.
For chronological order, we definitely should watch With Fire and Sword first, because that's actually even though that came out.
I'm down to watch both.
It came out first, and then actually Potop is after. So yeah,
we're probably gonna do the thing where like
a lot of subtitles.
You guys show up Friday night, and like we're too excited to go to sleep anyway, so it's like let's just watch With Fire and Sword right now.
I'd be down. Probably what's gonna happen.
And then Saturday night we can watch Potop and try to start it early as possible. Yo, Death Tickler, thanks for the
dude. The Death Tickler, what up?
Is it good? Is it bad?
Is it so? Yeah, like
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how to take that. I'm intrigued.
One who tickles death.
I'm interested. I'm confused, but I'm interested.
I gotta know.
Let's wrap this up before we find out what
Death Tickler
is.
Well, yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It always is. We'll be back in 2 weeks to only one way to find out.
No.
Send Death Tickler a Discord.
We gotta get out of here.
Death Tickler, please join us in 2 weeks, and we'll find out who your Vassal character is.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have stories to tell from. Oh wait, we'll be up here before we go to the. Oh no! Next show we'll miss.
Well, either we leave Sunday so that we can do it, or we do it at Rob's Sunday night, or I don't know.
We'll probably leave. So I mean, even if you have to be at Rob's to do it.
Yeah, like we're either gonna skip the next episode, or we're gonna have to bust our butts and get home Sunday so that we can, have time to do this, which I'm gonna hate because I just want to. When I get home from a trip, I don't want to do anything.
But yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it's possible that it may not happen, but
follow us on Instagram and shit if you want to, keep in touch and start talking about stuff at the thedruzhinacast. And we'll let you know for sure what we're doing in 2 weeks. Hopefully we do an episode, but don't be surprised if we don't, because we are getting together and it's a lot of driving, a lot of traveling and shit. So I'm good. I'm fading. I need to eat.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time, maybe. If not, we'll see you soon.